Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 60. We're going to talk about The Howling from 1981. I rented this from Amazon Prime. I had seen this before. As always, we begin by discussing the prominent crew and cast. This film was directed by Joe Dante, written by John Sayles and Terrence H. Winkless. The effects makeup was by Rob Bottin. Now, Joe Dante is a film director, producer, and editor, and actor renowned for his contributions to the horror and comedy genres. Initially working as a film reviewer, Dante transitioned into the directorial sphere. Dante gained recognition for his work on films like Piranha from 1978, a horror comedy showcasing his ability to blend humor with suspense, before doing The Howling. I'm pretty sure that I personally discovered Dante with Gremlins in 1984. John Sayles is a filmmaker, director, screenwriter, and author. A highly versatile artist, Sayles began his career as a novelist and short story writer, garnering attention with his well-received novels before making the transition to filmmaking. Sayles is most well-known for his Oscar-nominated screenwriting work. His work often explores themes of social justice, politics, and the complexities of human relationships. Terrence Winkless is a director, writer, and actor. Winkless began his career as an actor, making appearances in TV shows in the 1960s. Later, he transitioned to behind-the-scenes roles, working as a director and writer. Rob Bottin, a celebrated special effects artist and makeup designer, rose to prominence in the late 1970s and early 1980s, and is known for his exceptional talent in creating intricate and realistic creature designs and special effects. At the age of 14, Bottin sent Rick Baker a letter along with a self-drawn picture, hoping for an autograph. Impressed by the young artist's skills, Baker instead offered Bottin an apprenticeship, marking the beginning of a remarkable career. Bottin's legacy includes collaborations with filmmakers such as Joe Dante, John Carpenter, and Paul Verhoeven. In addition to the amazing effects, his work on the 1982 film The Thing showcased Bottin's dedication, as he lived on set, worked tirelessly 7 days a week for over a year. He faced physical exhaustion and was sent to the hospital upon completion of the project. Bottin's work for this film was so good, I was honestly shocked to find that it didn't win the Oscar. He collaborated with director Paul Verhoeven on Total Recall from 1990 and RoboCop from 1987, contributing to the film's memorable and imaginative special effects, including the iconic scene involving a character's eyes bulging out on Mars and designing RoboCop himself. Bottin's work left an indelible mark on the landscape of practical effects in the film industry. This was a real treat. The cast includes Dee Wallace as Karen White, Christopher Stone as R. William Bill Neal, Patrick McNee as Dr. George Wagner, Dennis Dugan as Chris, Belinda Belisky as Terry Fisher, Kevin McCarthy as Fred Francis, John Carradine as Earl Kenton, Slim Pickens as Sam Newfield, Robert Picardo as Eddie, Elizabeth Brooks as Marcia, Don McLeod as T. Sequist, Margie Impert as Donna, Noble Willingham as Charlie Barton, and James Murtaugh as Jerry Warren. Buckle up, this is a huge cast. Dee Wallace began acting in the 1970s. One of her most iconic roles came in 1982 when she starred as Mary, the mother, in Steven Spielberg's classic science fiction film E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Her heartfelt portrayal in that film earned widespread acclaim. Throughout her extensive career, she has taken on roles in various genres, including horror, drama, and science fiction. In addition to film work, Wallace made numerous appearances in TV series and movies. Christopher Stone is the stage name of Thomas Barasa. He began acting in the late 1960s and gained recognition for his good looks and talent. Stone appeared most frequently in various television series. Interestingly, Christopher Stone and Dee Wallace were married in real life. Unfortunately, Stone's life was cut short when he passed away in 1995 from a heart attack at the age of 53. Don't like that tidbit one little bit. Patrick McNee, the English actor whose illustrious career spanned decades, is most fondly remembered for his legendary portrayal of the debonair secret agent John Steed in the British television series The Avengers. Sporting his trademark bowler hats and umbrellas, McNee's suave portrayal captured his audience's imagination. His chemistry with various female partners, including Honor Blackman and Diana Rigg, contributed to the show's popularity during the 1960s. McNee's versatility extended beyond television, encompassing roles in film and theater. In addition to acting, he ventured into literature, authoring several books, including the autobiographical Blind in One Ear. Dennis Dugan, an industry veteran with a career spanning decades, made notable contributions as an actor, director, and producer. His journey began with acting roles in television shows. Dugan then found success behind the camera, directing a series of well-received comedies throughout the 1990s and 2000s. Particularly noteworthy is his frequent collaboration with Adam Sandler. Dugan is also a skilled painter who has showcased his art in gallery exhibitions in the Los Angeles area. Belinda Balaski is an actress best known for her work in the horror and science fiction genres during the 1970s and 80s. Balaski began acting with television appearances. She frequently collaborated with Dante, appearing in several of his films, including Piranha from 1978, The Howling from 1981, and Gremlins in 1984. Kevin McCarthy was a prolific actor with a career spanning 6 decades. He debuted on Broadway in 1938 and transitioned to film in the 40s, earning his first major recognition for his role in Death of a Salesman from 1951, a film adaptation of the Arthur Miller play. However, McCarthy is perhaps best remembered for his role in the science fiction classic Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1956, where he played Dr. Miles Bennell, a character confronted with an alien invasion. It's been almost 50 episodes since we've seen John Carradine in a werewolf movie, so let's revisit this prolific actor known for his distinct voice, imposing presence, and career spanning 6 decades. We saw him as Count Dracula in House of Frankenstein in 1944 and House of Dracula in 1945. Carradine initially pursued sculpture and painting before discovering his true passion for acting. Born Richmond Carradine, he adopted the stage name John. He began working various stage productions in the 1920s, transitioning to film in the 30s. Carradine's filmography includes a remarkable number of performances in a wide range of genres, from horror and western to drama and comedy. He became a frequent collaborator with legendary film director John Ford and appeared in several of Ford's iconic films. One of Carradine's most memorable roles was in Stagecoach from 1939. Carradine is one of those actors that I could spend 5 minutes just listing famous projects that he's worked on. Beyond his acting career, John Carradine was the patriarch of the Carradine acting dynasty, with several sons, including David, Keith, and Robert, achieving success in the entertainment industry. I am delighted to discuss Slim Pickens, a cowboy and renowned actor. Born Louis Burton Lindley Jr., Pickens worked as a rodeo clown and bull rider before his acting career took off. He was a cowboy, not an actor with an on-screen cowboy persona. He gained widespread recognition for his role as Major T.J. King Kong in Stanley Kubrick's satirical black comedy Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb from 1964. Pickens riding a falling nuclear bomb in the film's climax is one of cinema's most iconic images. Mostly associated with Western films, he often embodied rugged characters with humor. Notable appearances include roles in classic Westerns like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in 1966 and Blazing Saddles in 1974. Beyond film work, Pickens found success on television, making guest appearances on popular shows like The Twilight Zone and Gunsmoke. His distinctive Southern drawl and authentic cowboy aura made him a beloved figure in the entertainment industry. Robert Picardo is an actor and singer known for performances across film, television, and theater. His highest profile role was as the emergency medical hologram, EMH, on the popular science fiction television series Star Trek Voyager, which ran from 1995 to 2001. Picardo's portrayal of the compassionate yet irritable holographic doctor earned him a devoted fan base within Star Trek fandom. Beyond his Star Trek fame, Robert Picardo has had a prolific career in both film and television. He's also an accomplished singer, occasionally performing in musical theater productions. Elizabeth Brooks was a talented actress. The Howling is probably her most well-known role. Her career spanned both television and film. In addition to her acting career, she ventured into writing, penning the novel The Circle of Illumination. Her life was tragically cut short when she passed away at the age of 46 due to brain cancer. Margie Impert is an actress best known for her work in the 70s and 80s. She did mostly television, but obviously got into the occasional film role as well. Noble Willingham was an actor and politician best known for City Slickers in 1991 and his 5 seasons on Walker, Texas Ranger. He began his long road to acting by serving in the Korean War, working in Texas oil fields, and getting a master's degree from educational psychology from Baylor, and teaching government and economics at Sam Houston High School. A fellow teacher encouraged him to pursue his dreams of acting. He concluded his acting career with an unsuccessful campaign to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives. James Murtaugh was a film, television, and theater actor with a career spanning decades. While perhaps not a household name, he was a recognizable face. I absolutely recommend The Howling. It's a great film with some intriguing themes, new twists on werewolf lore, and absolutely improved special effects. Check it out if you haven't already seen it. One tidbit, Rick Baker initially worked on the special effects for this film, but departed to work on An American Werewolf in London. Consequently, the responsibility for the effects in this movie fell to his assistant, Rob Bottin. Released in the same year, both films garnered acclaim for their exceptional makeup work. Now, let's move on to the synopsis. On television, psychiatrist Dr. George Wagner delves into the complexities of human nature, discussing the dual nature of man, the concept of the noble savage, the inner animal, and how repression serves as the root cause of stress. Simultaneously, popular LA television anchorwoman Karen White participates in an undercover cooperation hunting a serial killer, dubbed Eddie the Mangler, who is fixated on her. He's left her phone messages. Under police protection, Karen agrees to meet with Eddie. Her husband, Bill, is apprehensive about this plan. Wearing a hidden wire, Karen follows directions to an unknown meeting place, which turns out to be an adult bookstore. As instructed, she makes her way to the peep show booths at the back and finds Eddie's booth. Unbeknownst to Karen, her wire transmitter malfunctions, severing her connection to the police. Oblivious to the technical glitch, she proceeds, while law enforcement dispatches officers in a frantic attempt to safeguard her. During Eddie's conversation with Karen, she sits with her back turned to him as he forbids her to face him, compelling her to witness a violent porn video. His sexual obsession with her becomes clear, and Eddie's voice changes. He's finally ready for Karen to turn around. She is terrified by what she sees. She tries to get away from Eddie as the police arrive. They shoot into the video booth, killing Eddie. Outside, Karen can't remember anything about what happened inside the booth. Karen's co-workers, Terry and Chris, start investigating Eddie. At his last job, they get his address. Upon entering his apartment, they are confronted by a chilling sight: walls adorned with newspaper clippings chronicling his grisly murders. The space is also filled with an array of sketches featuring people and locations, including a drawing of Karen. Terry wants to get Dr. Wagner involved in a news piece on Eddie. Wagner is surprised that Terry and Chris have uncovered Eddie's last name, which is Quist. Terry and Chris believe Eddie is obsessed with werewolves due to his drawings, which depict human beings transforming into animals. After her unsettling encounter with Eddie, Karen attempts to resume work, but experiences an anxiety attack during a live broadcast. Karen visits her psychiatrist, who happens to be the same Dr. Wagner. He suggests Karen go to The Colony, a rural retreat where select patients relax and participate in group therapy. Karen and Bill arrive and find the picturesque location inhabited by peculiar characters. Karen's relationship with Bill is suffering as well, particularly their sex life. One of the colony's residents, a seductive woman named Martha, has an interest in Bill. Karen's new friend, Donna, labels Marcia a nymphomaniac, but Wagner disagrees, asserting that she's just misunderstood. Marcia cares for a brother named TC, who seems to be somewhat deficient. She's upset when she finds TC reading Wagner's book. Isolated in the forest, Karen is disturbed by strange nightly howls and investigates with Donna, discovering a torn-apart deer. The sheriff suggests a wolf may be responsible. Investigating the lycanthropy angle to their story, Terry and Chris research mythology. An occult bookstore owner informs them about elements of werewolf lore, emphasizing that werewolves can only be killed by fire or silver bullets. He also happens to have a box of silver bullets left unclaimed by a customer. Chekhov's silver bullets. We'll come back to this. Chris and Terry visit the morgue and ask to see Eddie's body, but it's disappeared. The door to the freezer compartment is severely damaged from the inside. The morgue attendant jokes that Eddie didn't just walk away. Karen struggles in group therapy, haunted by fear when attempting to recall the video booth incident. Despite being a vegetarian, Bill is pressured into a wolf hunt by the colony men, shooting a rabbit and returning with the kill. TC advises him to take it to Marcia, who makes advances. Bill, furious and committed to Karen, rejects Marcia and leaves. He's clearly angry at Marcia, Karen, and himself. As he storms to his cabin, a large wolf attacks him, pinning him down and biting him lightly on the shoulder. Dr. Wagner administers a rabies shot and bandages the wound. Distraught after the attack on Bill, Karen makes a frantic phone call to Terry and Chris, asking them to come to the colony. By the way, Chris and Terry are a couple. I had not picked that up until now. Chris sends Terry ahead of him, planning to join her later. Karen is relieved to see Terry and tells her all about the strange things she has seen at the colony. That night, Bill leaves the cabin after Karen falls asleep and meets Marcia at the beach, where they make love by a campfire. In the middle of their lovemaking, they both transform into werewolves. The next day, Terry explores the resort alone, taking photographs. Terry connects Eddie to the resort through a sketch that he left behind. A voice lures her to Marcia's cabin, where a raging beast attacks Terry. It chases her from room to room, bursting through each door. She leaps from a window and hides inside a basement room. The beast corners her, reaching inside with limbs that seem both animal and human. Terry seizes an axe and amputates its arm. It flees, howling in pain. The wolf-like arm morphs into a human arm. Terry rushes to Wagner's office and finds it empty. She phones Chris and tells him about the attack and Eddie's drawings of the real colony locations. While on the call, she finds folders labeled Quist, one for Eddie, Marcia, and TC. Before she can inspect them, she is confronted by a huge werewolf that kills her, while Chris listens helplessly on the phone. Panicked, Chris buys the silver bullets and rushes off to the colony. Karen fights with Bill about the fact that he left the cabin in the middle of the night. She suspects he met Marcia, especially when he has long scratches on his back. Bill slaps Karen across the face. Furious, she leaves for Wagner's office, finding it empty, but stumbling across Terry's corpse. Eddie confronts her in human form. He is angry that she tricked him by arriving with police. "I'm going to give you a piece of my mind," he says, and pulls a bullet out of his forehead. In a chilling montage, we see Eddie transform into a werewolf. Desperate, Karen throws acid at Eddie, scarring him and allowing her to escape, only to be captured by other colony residents and taken to the ritual barn. The colonists also lay out Terry's body. Turns out everyone but Karen is a werewolf. Wagner's attempts to convince the werewolves to coexist peacefully have failed. He implores them to forsake the old ways and become modern. The rest of the pack does not agree. They tried Wagner's way and did not like it. They want to hunt humans. They all acknowledge Karen is way too famous to just disappear, so they plan to stage a car accident. Chris arrives at Wagner's office shortly and is confronted by Eddie, who seizes Chris's rifle. Eddie is in human form again, but now hideously scarred from the acid attack. He plays Chris a cassette recording of Terry's murder, relishing her screams, and dares Chris to shoot him with the rifle. Of course, Eddie doesn't know it is loaded with silver bullets, and he dies when Chris shoots him. Chris finds the ritual barn, and he begins shooting werewolves. They quickly realize the gun is loaded with silver and panic, transforming into their werewolf forms and retreating inside the barn. Trapping them inside, Chris and Karen ignite the barn, hearing werewolves scream in agony. As Karen and Chris try to escape, they are confronted by more werewolves. They make it to their car. In one last attack, a wolf lunges through the back window of the car and bites Karen on the shoulder. They shoot it, and it turns back into human form. It's Bill. Determined, Karen vows to warn the world about werewolves. Sometime after the ordeal, Karen is ready to return to her news anchor position. During a news report about her time at the colony, she veers from the approved script appearing on the teleprompter. Her boss thinks she is having another breakdown, but Chris insists that Karen be allowed to continue. Karen tells the live audience that there is a secret society among them of shapeshifters and that she has experienced it firsthand. She calls for everybody to be aware of the threat. In a final statement, she announces that she will now offer proof of her story. Karen begins transforming into a werewolf on live television. People in the viewing audience give mixed reactions. Some people think it's a movie, while others think it's simply a hoax. After Karen is fully transformed, she looks sadly at Chris, who shoots her with a silver bullet, killing her. One man watching from a tavern announces that it was real, that Karen did turn into a werewolf, and they shot her. Also sitting at the bar is Marcia, who has escaped the colony. The cycle will continue. The transformations in this film are great. Not quite as good as An American Werewolf in London. The main difference being the latter was shot in startlingly bright lighting. The Howling shoots the transformations under cover of darkness. So for that reason, the first film just looks better. That said, a lot of similar techniques were used. The Howling does use more bladder effects that sometimes create a more organic oozing feeling and less of a bone-crushing stretching effect. The biggest improvement and difference is the look in the werewolves themselves. This is the first real monstrous hybrid we have seen on film. These werewolves are 7 and 9 feet tall. They have the heads of wolves on bipedal bodies instead of fur on a mostly human face. They have long limbs and wicked claws instead of pointy fingernails. They look great, and I am excited to see filmmakers improve and refine this look over time. This is the first instance I can think of this kind of iconic werewolf look. Now, moving on to werewolf lore, one of the reasons this movie is awesome is the new direction it takes werewolf lore. We've already covered the new and improved werewolf hybrid form, and we'll discuss the development of the werewolf pack in just a bit. There are a few things I want to briefly mention here. First, this film embraces the werewolf's weakness to silver and fire. Werewolves are much bigger and much stronger than humans, although we don't see any explicit evidence that they are more agile. However, the Howling completely abandons the tie between werewolves and the moon, instead giving the lycanthropes the ability to shift at will. This helps make the colony better bad guys and villains. Unlike many other werewolves we've watched, this group kills because they choose to kill. They like to kill. We even get evidence of this when Marcia, in werewolf form, merely injures Bill to induct him into the pack. She could have killed him easily. She had him pinned. She chose not to. She was always in complete control. Also, Eddie toys with Karen in the opening scene and later at the colony. The other intriguing addition to werewolf lore is the 3-day period to regenerate. It's slipped into the movie without much fanfare or attention, but Eddie is gunned down with normal bullets and appears dead to trained professionals, cops, paramedics, and morgue personnel. He's not faking. These werewolves aren't immune to normal weapons, they just recover from their effects. It takes Eddie time to resurrect. I was reminded of a kind of satanic inverse of Jonah's 3 days in the belly of the whale, or Christ's 3 days in the tomb. This casts Eddie as a symbol of the devil, which is appropriate. So let's get back to Chekhov's silver bullets. In the synopsis, I mentioned the idea, which was a little play on the literary term Chekhov's gun. So let's explore it. Chekhov's gun is a dramatic principle coined by Russian playwright Anton Chekhov. The concept revolves around the idea that every element introduced into a story should have a purpose and contribute to the overall narrative. Chekhov famously stated, if you say in the first chapter that there is a rifle hanging on the wall, in the second or third chapter, it absolutely must go off. If it's not going to be fired, it shouldn't be hanging there. This principle underscores the importance of economy in storytelling and emphasizes the need for elements to serve a function, ensuring a tight and purposeful narrative. In practical terms, Chekhov's gun encourages authors to be deliberate in their choices, avoiding unnecessary details or props that don't play a significant role in how the plot unfolds. While Chekhov's gun was originally coined concerning literature and theater, its influence extends to various storytelling mediums, including film and television. That said, it's a little less critical on screen than it is on the page. Time spent describing the gun hanging on the wall takes longer in a book than in a movie. A picture's worth 1,000 words, to apply another truism. The way I see it, this principle serves two narrative purposes in movies. The first is foreshadowing. By placing a prominent mention of the box of silver bullets about 30 minutes into the movie foreshadows that there will be a gunfight later. We also know that either Chris or Terry, or both, are going to the colony, or that the werewolves are going to show up back in LA, because those are the two characters who know where to find the bullets. That's what ends up happening. Another benefit of Chekhov's gun is front-loading exposition. The film needs to confirm that werewolves do have weaknesses to silver and fire. By prominently pointing out the box of bullets during a period where the action is slow, the filmmakers can give us crucial information during a period when they aren't disrupting the tension and action with unnecessary dialogue. By adhering to the principle represented by Chekhov's gun, writers can engage readers and audiences more effectively and create a sense of anticipation and satisfaction as each element introduced is thoughtfully integrated into the storyline. The principle serves as a valuable guide for artists, urging them to craft narratives with intention and purpose, ultimately enriching the audience's experience and appreciation for the art of storytelling. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen a full werewolf pack, of course. Santo faces off against large numbers of lycanthropes in Santo and Blue Demon versus Dracula and the Wolfman, and Santo versus the She-Wolves. And the packs in Children of the Full Moon and The Rats Are Coming, The Werewolves Are Already Here were both surprise reveals at the end of the movie. But this is perhaps the most notable example of the idea so far. Karen and Bill are surrounded by werewolves from the moment they arrive at the colony. Werewolves who know Karen was instrumental in the temporary death of one of their own. So why did Wagner bring them out here? I suspect he intended to convert both of them into werewolves, but we don't really know because the pack's plan is never explicitly spelled out. It does create a fun reveal. It's another new twist on the werewolf story. Of course, it creates a narrative problem for the filmmakers. How do the few humans defeat a dozen werewolves? The answer is the surprise silver bullets. Eddie dares Chris to shoot him. Chris shoots 2 or 3 werewolves at the barn before the pack even realizes what's happening. And, like most bullies, they react to their presumed target standing up to them in a cowardly fashion. They retreat and hide. That gives Karen and Chris the chance to barricade the barn and burn most of the pack. Karen and Chris got lucky. but in a way that makes sense. It flows from everything we've seen so far. Now, Karen makes a noble sacrifice at the end of the film in an attempt to alert the world to the threat. It's a great moment and a real escalation of the typical self-sacrifice that we've seen a lot. Think of David from An American Werewolf in London provoking his firing squad. Karen updates this to the cable TV era, choosing the most public venue she could for her reveal and execution. But the filmmakers didn't want to rest there. The ending twists the consequences of the media-savvy reveal. The film suggests that most people watching this broadcast don't trust their own eyes, which I find to be such an interesting position for a film so reliant on special effects to take. I get it. Audiences by 1981 have been conditioned by Hollywood. Hollywood can do amazing things. They can make amazing, unrealistic things look real. We've seen humans turn into werewolves in this very movie. Why wouldn't an audience jump to the conclusion that they are just watching special effects? It's such a great twist on the ending, and I really enjoyed it. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you may have noticed. Next, I plan on discussing La Loba from 1965. So keep your eye on the moon, the silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back here next episode.